What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the second episode of the Power Rankings, guys. Power ranking anything and everything Survivor Michigan. I'm Paul, and as always, I'm here with Joe.
Hi, everybody.
And we are here to power rank the second episode of Survivor Michigan Wolverine Wars. And what an episode it was!
Oh my gosh, so crazy. I can't believe how fast the season is going by already.
It already feels like we are into it, like we are in the middle of it, and we've already had two great episodes thus far, and man, the end of this week's episode with the Tom implosion was wild.
It really was. I couldn't even believe it. And just like what a turn just from the first episode to the second episode. I don't know what country he was by the end of the episode. And I have to say, like, I really, once again, shout out to the editing team, like, I really thought Tom was going to idle out Ben. Did you have that same thought?
I thought Tom was going to idle out Jack. So we were on the similar pages, but same, like you said, what a brilliantly edited episode. Again this week. I was thinking a bunch of different outcomes, but never the outcome we got. Because once they started showing everybody's votes, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, it's setting us up. And then when Cooper said it, like, I was just waiting. And then, like, all of a sudden, I was like, wait. And then it didn't happen. It was like, oh my God, mind-blowing.
Even the way he was kind of sitting, it looked like he was, like, ready to jump up. So I was like, he's definitely going to play it.
He, like, skipped into tribal council. He was so excited. I thought there was no way he was holding on to that thing. And then, wow, what an exit this early in the game. So crazy.
Poor guy. And it was funny, too, because I think the reason why I thought it could have been Ben was because I feel like they kept throwing in these, like, not random, like, there was a lot of Ben confessionals towards the end. And I was like, you know, I guess I put myself in, like, not that, like, you can usually kind of tell from the edit, but like, I was like, I'm like, why do they keep throwing in so many Ben confessionals? And then I was like, oh my God, like, maybe Tom, you know, is the sole vote for Ben and takes him out with an idol play. Like, that would have, again, it would have been like an epic move. And again, kudos to the editing team, because, like, I was fooled. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. Like, Tom is going to use his idol and send, like, a big player home, and then it didn't happen. I think I was like as shocked. Like, I would have been shocked if it would have happened, and I was as shocked that it didn't happen too. So just what a crazy episode.
I was totally fooled throughout the whole thing. It was so good. I really thought maybe we could come on this week and all power rank everybody's Tom impressions, because everybody in the cast this week did an impression of Tom. I think there was like 10 or 12 to choose from. But I thought, we'll save that that'll be Patreon content when we get a Patreon exclusive.
Perfect. We'll table that.
But no, there was so much. I mean, we got an appearance from Jordan Schubel.
Yeah, that was really cool.
On Survivor Michigan this week. And Jordan Schubel was here. Michael Jordan was here. Will and Emily were back in a flashback. It was like, what? We got a picture of Survivor Michigan watch party with a bunch of our favorites. Man, this through two episodes, once again, Survivor Michigan is delivering.
Absolutely. And even I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he has some downtime for the next couple of weeks. And I was like, you need to start Survivor Michigan while you have time, because it's just great content every season, great characters, and great Survivor.
Season. Absolutely. Yeah. I was speaking of every season. We got a shout out from Beardless George from season 1, episode 1, made an appearance. Also, didn't want to run
that was really cool.
Also, but it's so good. Again, we got so much good content. So if you want to, we can just jump right into power rankings.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I will say, I tapped into my sort of old college days, and procrastinated my list. So we'll see how this goes.
I'm excited to find out. So let's start with our newbies again.
Mm.
And let's start at the bottom with number 5 this week. At number 5 this week on my list, I had Shannon.
Okay. Perfect.
It was tougher. The rankings, I'll just as a meta note, the rankings were tougher this week because I felt like last week we had a lot of players who I was like, okay, they're doing good, they're here, they're there. And this week I felt like there was a number of those people who sort of had not so great moments. Specifically, our friend Adam, who we were both very high on last week, does not, spoiler alert, does not make an appearance in my power rankings this week.
I had to very, what's the word? Wholeheartedly?
Yes.
Heavy-heartedly.
Good.
I had to heavy-heartedly remove him from my list as well. So it sounds like we're on the same page.
Yeah, I still like Adam, but I don't think this was just not a good week. Same thing for Ivy, who was on my list last week, who I liked, but was really absent from a lot of the strategy conversations this week. So, yeah, a little bit of topsy-turvy, but I started with Shannon this week because I liked that even though she wasn't a part of the Adam Alliance meeting, I think that may work in her favor. I liked seeing her with Dale and Eliza. I felt like that was good. I felt like we toned down on the Shannon hates Cat narrative from last week.
Yes.
Which was the right direction that... Go ahead.
Oh, good. No, I was going to say, I'm sure that'll come back up.
Oh, yeah.
If that tribe ever loses. But yeah, I think it was a good like setup in episode 1 of kind of like, okay, there's a little bit of conflict here. But it was toned down, which was good to see. We definitely saw a lot more meetings and strategy. So that was good.
So I'm feeling out of everybody kind of on the Tokidoki side of the of the newbies, excuse me, I feel like Shannon is kind of in a good middle spot. She's not kind of out leading the charge. She's not in the middle of everything, but she's not being left behind in the way that I fear somebody like Ivy is, or even maybe somebody like Kat, who was in that meeting, but I don't know that it was necessarily good for her. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I actually added Shannon to my list this time because I didn't have her on last time. She's actually in my number 4 spot.
Okay.
The one thing that stood out to me was, and I could be focusing on like the smallest thing, but I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, she found out about that 4-person group that met up, Eliza, Adam, Jackson, and Kat. And I'm pretty sure we saw her telling Dale in a meeting, and he might have already known, but I don't think so from his reaction. So I think that actually it scored brownie points for me, but I'm sure it scored brownie points for Shannon with her connection with Dale, because I feel like when you're like, especially in the early game, like if you're hearing things like that, I think that's really helpful. And it's like someone like Jackson, who's really close to Dale, like if he's hearing it from Shannon first, I think that would give her brownie points in my mind if I was Dale. Does that make sense?
No, I totally agree with you. I think that it's a great spot for her to be in where she's not a part of this necessarily for the Adam 4 and the Matthew, Dale, Jackson, Eliza big threats thing. She's not either, but she's adjacent to both of those things enough that I think that she's still in a really good spot.
Yeah. I agree. And I was happy to add her to my list. It was nice seeing sort of more strategy from her and again, more, connecting with people. And again, I'm focusing on that one thing, but I feel like that can be seen as like maybe a little bit of a crumb in the grand scheme of things, but I think it could be an entire sandwich of a not a move necessarily, but here I go with some crazy metaphors, but
no, I love it. Now you're like Tom with all the metaphors. Ben's gonna be so mad.
Right. Hopefully this one is a little easier to follow, but but yeah, I think that was a good move on her part. And again, I don't know the backstory. That was just like a quick thing that happened. But I think if you're finding out information like that, that's huge. Like 4 people meeting up and you're not a part of that is a big that's a big thing to hear about. That's half the tribe. So I think with her kind of letting Dale in on that, I think that definitely helped, bring them together a little bit, at least in
Yeah,
my
that
mind.
moves her up. I think that moves her up his ladder. I think that moves her up the ladder and kind of the tribe hierarchy in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So who do you have in your number 5 spot?
So I'm gonna flip a coin here
Okay, good.
because I wrote down 2 names. Let's see. I'm gonna go. You know what? Let's change it up. I'm not gonna flip a coin. I'm gonna pick myself. So I put Nate.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I
So
want to hear why you put Nate there.
yeah. So I had Nate or Jackson in number
Okay.
5. The reason I kind of put Jackson down a little bit was again focusing on this Shannon situation where like I feel like if I was Jackson, I would have texted Dale right away and been like, "Yo, Adam just pulled together this like random group of 4. Like, I just got to let you know that I'm here." Again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but just from a viewer perspective, I feel like that would have been my first thing. And maybe he did, and they just didn't show it. I don't know. And I hesitated to remove Jackson from my list because he like hurt his leg, which was kind of the basketball thing was kind of funny. And then it was like,
Oh yeah,
cut to that challenge where they needed to like carry people and hop on one foot and all this stuff. So like he powered through that pretty well. So I was like, I kind of felt bad removing him from my list, but I also had Nate. I don't know. I feel like Nate was in an interesting spot. He was, I forget how that whole thing came up with like the group of 5 situation. And then like, he was talking to Megan and, I don't know. I think, like him kind of skating through this round, I think was good. And, I guess we haven't really seen a ton of, like a him versus Ben thing yet. But I think it was mentioned in the first podcast, but he did remind me of Jack in one of his confessionals, which is kind of funny. I was like, wait, is that Jack? I'm like, oh wait, it's Nate. But I don't know. I figured I'd put him on the list. I think he's doing okay. I think he's got that sort of like villainous vibe, but I feel like, if they go to tribal again, I feel like he might be okay.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Nate was right outside my list because I'm still waiting for him to do something I feel excited about. Because I feel like so far, like he's been pretty good. He's kind of been. I think he's in an okay spot on El Norte. I don't, obviously they have to start winning some challenges or get swapped around because otherwise, eventually there's no places to hide. But I do like him. I'm waiting for him to do something. I think we're seeing this Jack, Ben, Camilla, and Katie thing happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to start to take place. And then I think Megan is kind of adjacent to that, where Megan's meeting with Camilla. She's meeting with Jack still. And so I feel like I'm worried about Nate in that spot, assuming that kind of continues. But I think he's good, and I think it could have easily been him this week without the Tom implosion, because we saw them be like, let's just vote 6-1 for Nate, and that didn't happen. And I think anytime you can take yourself off the hot seat, that scores you points for me. So I think Nate's a good pick here.
Yeah, and I think he has the potential to do well, and I think like I could see there being a swap within the next episode or 2, so I feel like he could maybe benefit from that as well, with a little bit of a shakeup. But yeah, I think it was more of like that's why I kind of had him, it was like a flip a coin situation, but I feel like he has the potential to do really well, so we'll have to see what happens in the next episode for him.
Absolutely. So let's see. So you said your 4 was Shannon. Okay, so my 4 is Megan, actually.
Oh yeah, I had her as number 3.
Okay, good. She, if it's possible, was even more smiley this week. Did you notice that?
I did. I really did. I'm like,
when she popped on
like
screen, it was like, oh, like Mike, like, are you going for an X-ray at the dentist's office? Like, my gosh.
Well, and even like some of the conversations she was having when it was like Tom was telling her. What did she say that he said? Like, oh, you better perform in the challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Or like, just some of the things like she was hearing and like relaying to other people, but she was still like so smiley about it, even though it was kind of like rude, for like someone to say that or whatever. But no, I feel like Megan's smile is infectious. I feel like if I was in the game, I would want to work with her just for that reason. It's like, how could you? I feel like she could like do no wrong. So no, I'm glad she's on the list. She's number 3 for me. Like I said, I think she's in a pretty good spot. I think, like you said before, like even though she's not in that like 4. I felt like a lot of people were coming to her and telling her about this, like that, like 5, and I'm doing air quotes with that. Like Camilla was telling her about it, Nate was telling her about it. So people are keeping her in the know, which I think is good. And I think she would be a loyal ally to anyone. So yeah, I'm glad she's still, on our list, and I think she's in a great spot.
I totally agree. I think I find her to be absolutely charming and adorable when she's on screen. So there's that side of it of just like that likability factor that I think she has. But I think also there's that kind of one-on-one relationship thing she has going with people that I think is really good. She's not in the big groups, which I guess get a little bit of pause on this tribe. But also, I don't think the big groups are real on either tribe, really. But and so I think if she's focusing on doing that that little thing where it's like, hey, I'm going to be everybody's friend, I'm going to be fun, I'm going to be adorable, I'm going to be completely non-threatening. Again, I said Nicole Senti week 1, and I am sticking with that here to week 2 as she climbs my list, because I think if she can keep playing this kind of game, she could be in really great shape.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like if there's no swap, let's say they lose again, which I kind of hope the other tribe loses, just to kind of see what happens over there. But I think she would be fine. I think she has bigger targets ahead of her on that tribe, so I feel like even if they lost again, I think she'd be totally fine.
I agree. Alrighty, well, so your number 3 was Megan, so I guess we'll just keep going down my list then. In my number 3 spot, I had Dale.
Interesting. Okay, he was my number 1, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he moved up my list, I think, from the last time.
Yeah, because I had him number 1 last week, and I moved him down my list this week.
Oh, okay. I definitely want to hear why.
We're going opposite directions on Dale. Like Dale, I still like the game he's playing. I still think he's in one of the best spots for the new players or really anybody in general. Still a big fan of his, but I am worried about the old man thing. I think anything that
you heard a lot of those comments,
which deeply offensive, by the way. There needs to be some kind of trigger warning before the episode when we're going to call a 28-year-old.
Absolutely. I was like, excuse me? Yeah, right?
Yeah, just so some of us can know that we're going to be traumatized because if Dale is old and I'm older than Dale, yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. So very deeply offensive. So I'm chastising the whole cast on that, especially Jack. We're going to get into talking about Jack later, but Jack constantly referring to Dale as 40 and saying, he has a wife. You can't have a wife and play. Jack was on fire this week. Oh my gosh.
He was.
I know. I'm skipping ahead, I know, but oh my gosh.
No, that's okay. And we got proof that Dale was actually married.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I picked out the wedding ring. Or I didn't pick out the wedding ring, but I saw the wedding ring in the first episode. So I was glad we got mention of that.
You killed that. You are the hot takes machine, the wedding ring locator, carrying the water of this podcast so far. When they mentioned that he was married, I was like, man, you got to listen to the power rankings guys to get this information ahead of time. So thank you for providing that for us. But no, I still think Dale's in a really good spot. I'm just a little bit iffy on him being a little bit older thing. I'm not thrilled. And then in the preview, it was kind of like he was getting kind of aggressive in a little bit, and it just worries me a little bit. So yeah, but tell me, why do you have him at number 1? You sort him all the way up your list.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm trying to be defensive of the oldest guy on the season,
Sure.
and I was just like, well, you know what? I'm gonna put him at number one and show you guys.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think he's in a good spot still. I think the him Matt and Jackson thing is interesting. He's got that connection with Shannon, so it will be. I think it'll be one of those things where it's like the next couple of episodes could really make or break him. And I'm interested too, because I think in the scenes for the next episode, he was saying like, you're done to somebody. And I think they were trying to make it seem like it was Matthew, but I'm wondering if that was like an editing trick. And maybe he's talking about Adam for like trying to put that group of four together. So I'll be interested to see kind of what happens with that. But I don't know. I think he's playing well. I think, maybe the other tribe is kind of like taking digs at him for being older, but I don't think that's really bothering anyone on his tribe.
That's a good
point.
So
at this point, like, who cares? And if he has the youngest person on his tribe also working with him, like, then it really just doesn't matter. Age is just a number, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I don't know. Yeah. So that's what I tell myself.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, I don't know. I think he's in a good spot. And like I said, I think the next couple episodes will really make or break his game. So I'll be interested to see kind of what happens from there.
I do wonder what it would be like to be married to somebody playing College Survivor.
That's true.
I kept having that thought.
Now, if his wife is a big Survivor fan, I think she'll get it.
Oh, yeah.
If not, that would be an interesting conversation.
It'd be very confusing. I definitely want, like, can we get like a post-game interview with Dale's wife when all this is over? I think that's...
Maybe she'll make an appearance in one of his confessionals.
Oh, yeah. I'm very interested in that. Yeah, I definitely think we need to get... Well, I have some questions for her because, man, what a strange experience that would be from the outside looking. Because, we see it with roommates and stuff. How strange that is, but a spouse?
Mm-hmm.
That is a different level.
Yeah.
So I am interested in...
Maybe we'll see... maybe we'll see his wife make an appearance during the Loved Ones challenge.
Oh, that's
they do that
right. Yeah, now we're filling out our cast for Survivor Michigan Blood versus Water. We have Brittany and Nana, Mitch and his mom, Sarah and her brother, and now Dale and his wife. Mm-hmm. We're getting close.
Yeah. Right. It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
You heard it here first.
Exactly. Alrighty. So in your number 2 spot, who do you have?
I have Camilla.
I have her in my number 2 spot as well.
Oh, perfect. We're in sync finally.
Yes.
What more can we say about Camilla?
I know.
Like, she's playing so well. She's flirty. She's funny. She's talking to everyone. She's making connections. Like I mentioned before, I think she was one of the people telling Megan about, that whole 5 thing that I think she played off pretty well. Yeah, I think she's in a really great spot on her tribe, and I'm excited to see kind of where her game goes.
I totally loving the Camilla game. I'm thinking nobody's thinking of her as a big threat right now. I think she's close with basically everybody on the tribe. Mm-hmm. I think we see her in one-on-ones with basically everybody except Nate and Katie. We see her in one-on-ones, and we still see her. Yeah. She's in the Breakfast Club with Katie, and she's in that meeting with Nate and Megan. So she's there with everybody. She is playing great. She's kind of unassuming, low threat level, but she is locked in. I feel fantastic about Camilla.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And I think she would be, again, if we see like a swap coming in the next week or two, I feel like she would play the exact same way with new people. And I think she'd be in a good spot with a swap as well. So, I'm very happy to have her on my list. I would be shocked the day that she's removed from this. So we'll have to, hopefully I'm not jinxing her game, but
yeah, no kidding. Fingers crossed.
I'm excited about her, and right. But good.
Yeah,
good.
No, I'm feeling great about her game as far as a newbie. I think she's giving me everything that I want out of a new player. But I did put her in 2 because in my number 1 spot, plot twist, I have Jackson.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So I
Oh, I love
decided to
that.
pay tribute to Ian and Richard and Sam and surprise you with a twist ending to our power rankings here.
Wow, I like that. My jaw is dropped.
Good.
Congratulations.
You were in on Jackson. I was iffy.
Yeah.
And now we have totally switched. I am all in on Jackson. He's cracking me up. I'm loving his confessionals. I think it's like giving me kind of Mitch vibes a little bit, which, as you know, is a compliment. A little bit Mitch, a little bit early Chris Thomas, maybe. So things I love. I love that he's powered through at the challenge, even though he's a little bit injured. I love that he's in this group with Adam, that Adam thinks he's the best looking guy on their tribe, which can only bode well for him. But
Right.
also he's like in this group, but he's like, I don't know about this, and he's with Dale, loves him. He's with Shannon. I think he is in a really, really great spot.
Yeah, I agree. And even though I had him tied for fifth, yeah, maybe I went too much in on Jackson the first episode, and then I had to dial it back, and I dialed it back too much. But regardless, I mean, hey, these aren't like set in stone,
Yes.
power rankings. But no, I agree. He is in a good spot. I mean, to get pulled into that 4-person situation, even though it was kind of awkward, that's a good thing, right?
Yes.
Like you're at least one person wants to work with you that you might not have connected with, during the first week. So I definitely agree with that. Again, he powered through the challenge, being injured, and he's close with Dale and Matthew. So I agree. I think he's in a great spot. Yeah, again,
Yeah, I'm
my
really
list isn't
feeling.
set in stone. So
I think he's on this. I think he's a part of this big targets thing, and he's a part of this outsiders thing. I think in a swap situation, he'd be in a good spot in basically any place he
yeah.
landed. So I think we got a lot of good strategy talk out of him this week. At this stage in the game, I like anybody who's like into it, and I don't mean like in the playing hard, overplaying way, but I like somebody who's engaging
Yeah.
with the game this early.
Yes.
I think that is a good sign of somebody who is going to be aware in the future of what's going on. And so that's why Jackson soared to the top of my list. So this was a good week for the power rankings, guys. We were close on some, and then we had two that were totally different. But I like where we're going. I feel good about all of the people that made our lists this week going forward.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that's what's fun about it is like, because obviously we don't speak about what our lists are before we talk. So
Absolutely not.
It's just as much of a surprise for us as it is for anybody who's listening.
Yes,
so,
this is happening
yeah,
live on the air. Job. Yeah, as far as people we didn't talk about this week, I'm feeling like Kat a little bit better week because at least she's a part of this 4, but then she's also showing them this super long YouTube video, and everybody's kind of annoyed with her.
Oh my gosh, that was so cringy.
It was so cringy, and so I'm kind of like,
and we've all been in that position.
On both sides of it, yeah.
Someone sends you something that they think is really great, and you're just like, "What is this?" Or you send someone something that you think is really great or funny, and it's like not. So it was like we've all been in her shoes, and we've all been in Eliza, Adam, and Jackson's shoes for sure.
Definitely, yeah. So we talked about her a little bit. We got to see a little bit from Katie. Katie was kind of the one person we didn't get anything from in episode 1. So we saw a little bit more of Katie this week. I'm still not quite where she's at in that El Norte group, but she's in the Breakfast Club 4 with Camilla and Jack and Ben.
Right.
So that's a good spot, even if she is kind of 4 of 4. I'm feeling good about her. So that's interesting. And then we already touched a little bit on Adam not having a great week at all, having a really disastrous challenge week.
Right. Yeah, his choice to bring those people, Jackson, Eliza, and Kat together was a choice. And I think I think it's good that he has found people that he wants to work with, but I think the way that he went about it was definitely very strange. Like, I think he should have definitely, I mean, we already saw him with Kat in episode 1, and then I think, maybe meet one-on-one with everybody else. And maybe here he did, and it wasn't shown, but like, have it come up a little bit more organically instead of just like sending out this like text to random people. And I don't even think some of them knew that the others would be there.
No, that was the whole thing was,
yeah.
Aliza didn't know that Jackson didn't know Aliza was going to be there, and neither of them knew Kat was going to be there.
Right.
It's just so messy. And then you see like he's having really trouble with the challenge, and it made me think of Sabrina from Maryland Terrapin Trials, when he's like, man, just go to the gym. I was like, isn't that the same thing Eric says about Sabrina when they do the Cold Pursuit Challenge in Terrapin Trials, is just go to the gym? Or maybe it's Alex Burkow talking about Ashley in, I can't remember. But at any rate, that's super cut College Survivor references. But it was just not a great week for Adam, who I still like. We both liked last week. He was in our number 2 spots last week. So hoping for a bounce back from Adam this week.
Yeah, I agree. It was, like I said, it was tough to take him off the list, but I think he can definitely bounce back.
All right, so on that note, let's go to our returners, the Big Four, the Mount Rushmore, as they were. So who is your number 4 this week for the returners?
So, spoiler alert, I can't talk. No one changed positions in my rankings.
Oh, okay.
So, I'll just let you know that now. But I have Ben again. But I will say, the gap between 3 and 4 was greatly decreased this time. I feel like even though I have him in the number 4 spot, I think he did a really good job of recovering from the Ben bomb from episode 1. But I kept him at 4 for now, if that makes sense. What about you?
No, I totally agree. I wanted to give Ben like an honorary 3.5 spot. He still is the 4th out of these 4 people, but he had such a good bounce back week, I feel like, that if we were ranking all the players together, he would have jumped several spots in an overall ranking, because I feel like he's back engaged with the game. He's in with the Breakfast Club 4, which is a good spot for him. He's talking a lot more self-awareness in the game, rather than like, oh, I want to be nice and I want to be loyal. He's talking like, I can't help but stir up drama. It's like, yeah, that's why you're back here, Ben. Like, we love you.
Right.
Do more of that, please. And so I'm feeling much better about Ben's spot in the game. I felt like outside of the whole Tom's Idol thing, I felt like if it was going to be a vote, it was probably either going to be Tom or Nate. I felt like Ben was maybe a 3rd option there, but I never felt like we ever were in serious danger of Ben going home this week outside of Tom being the single vote with his idol if he had played it.
Right.
And even then,
I agree.
In the actual timeline, Tom votes for Katie. So even in the, which is so weird. Why is he doing that?
Yeah, my thought was just that Katie was kind of seen as Ben's like number 1.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
So it's like it would have weakened him, but yeah, I thought that was a strange choice. I was not expecting her name to come up from Tom's vote. I personally thought it was going to be Ben.
Yes,
just from viewing.
I thought it was going to be Ben or Jack for sure. So yeah, that was.
When I saw Katie's name, I was just like, what?
Yeah. But again, I think that is good for Ben to say that even in that situation, he still would have been safe. Tom still wanted to work with him. So I think Ben is somebody who is going to get new life if we get to like a swap or something.
Yeah. So I agree. I kind of hope we do see one in the next episode or two, just to kind of see how things play out. I would love to see Tokidoki lose once, just if they go to tribal once, and then maybe episode 4. They change things.
Totally.
So we'll have to see.
Yeah. So Ben is still in 4th, but he is ascending. Ben is moving up power rankings, even though he's technically not moving up. He is moving.
Right.
So then in number 3,
he's 100,000 steps ahead of where he was last episode.
Perfect.
But it's not put him enough to get to number 3 yet, but he's close. He's
Exactly.
very
Oh my
close.
God, his voting confession where he said he's not going to get voted out by another nerdy white boy. I was rolling. Rolling. I was like, Ben,
Oh man.
yes, please. I love it. More, please. So
That's
loving
great.
Ben there. So in number 3, let's talk about Matthew.
Yep. Yeah, Matthew's still at number 3. I still think he's in a great spot.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they talked about the premiere of season 1,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more about, it wasn't really necessarily about like the episode or anything. And again, episode 1, there's not too much to go off of, being Matthew. But so I know we said this in the first episode, but like I am very interested as the season goes on, like what people's perspective of him will be being able to see his first season. But I think, as we also said, I think he'd be able to play it off pretty well. And that's why I'm kind of not necessarily hoping, but I'm like with Dale saying like, you're done. I hope that's not about Matthew, but they kind of edit it to seem that way. So I hope he doesn't make like a blunder or they watch the next episode and something happens from that. But yeah, I think he's still in a great spot. He's great at challenges. I think he's connected with a few people in his tribe. So yeah, I think he sits at a comfortable number 3 for me on my list.
I feel the same way. I think that there was a little bit of that, like, oh wow, he like rattles off the names of every Survivor season in a row. And there was a little conversation about that I think people were a little bit like, I don't know. Which is why, even though he's still at 3, I think the gap between him and Ben narrowed, because I don't necessarily think this was a great week for Matthew. Even though there's talking about the big threats of alliance of Matthew, Jackson, Eliza, and Dale, and I don't think he's in a bad spot at all. I think Dale and Jackson getting together and being close is bad for him, because I think he needs to be in the hub of that. I think he needs to be kind of their number 1, and because I don't think it's a far leap for the two of them to be saying, well, if we're here, what do we need him for? Especially in that kind of alpha dude bro sort of way. So I'm a little bit more worried for Matthew than I was last week. So, but again, I don't think he was really hurt by the Survivor Michigan airing at all. So I think he's still probably fine there. It's just a matter of, is he going to become expendable in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. And again, we keep talking about a swap. It'll be interesting to see him navigate that. But yeah, I mean, he's in number 3. I think there's just sort of like a question mark. Like I feel like his game could really go one of 2 ways. It'll just be, which way it ends up going.
I totally agree. So you still have Jack at number 2?
I do, yes.
I actually bumped Jack up to number 1 this week in my list.
Ooh,
I did.
I like that.
I love Jack's spot right now. There was so much this week he's doing that I think is so good. I think even the scene of him like getting a lemon with Tom and going and doing that is so good. I think him and Camilla one-on-one is good. I think him and Eliza at the Survivor Michigan watch party is super good.
Yes.
I think the fact that he's getting a call from Ben at that part. I mean, he's fielding calls from people so many that he has to be like, oh, I'm going to decline Tom's call, and I guess I'll take Ben's call. I feel great about where he's at, whether they stay in the same tribes or in a swap, because we see in the preview that Katie's like, oh, Jack and Camilla, but Katie does not have the social capital, I don't think, to bounce Jack out by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, no.
So, I'm super high on Jack. I'm just loving Jack's style of play right now, I think is what it is. Just seeing the way he interacts with people, the way he talks with people, so like relaxed and easy, and almost reminds me of The Circle in a way. Like Jack, somebody who would do well on The Circle, just because he seemed like anybody who sits and talks with him feels good about that conversation. And I just think
that's exactly what I was just going to say.
In Survivor, you can't overestimate that.
No, I agree with all of that. I think, and I know we kind of said this last week, but like just looking at him versus Ben, I feel like he's definitely in a better spot. Just comparing the two
Mm-hmm.
returners on that tribe, and then again with Ben letting everyone know what he did his first season, I feel like just the trust factor in Jack, he gets points on that side for that. And then, I think it's cool seeing him play a little bit differently than his first time around. Because it's kind of like I keep expecting like Sam and Sarah to just
I
like jump on
know.
screen and like, be in his room with him to strategize. So it's like, it's nice seeing him kind of on his own. And he's already had to cut someone from his initial car
Mm-hmm.
alliance, which was really what a
No
turnaround
kidding.
that was. So yeah, I'm really enjoying seeing Jack play like, you know, not as himself, but like, he's kind of on his own this season. But I think, I mean, it was never a doubt that he
Oh
wasn't a
yeah.
good player. So it's like not surprising. But it is cool seeing him kind of navigate things. And I think he's, like you said, he's set up super well in his current tribe. And once again, if there was a swap, which now I hope it does happen because we
No
talked about
kidding.
it so much, but I think he would be fine. I think he'd be fine with whatever mix of people he
I
ended up with.
agree. I just would want him to re-record his episode 1 confessional and just say, "Last time I was nice, this time I'm nicer," because that's a much more accurate reflection of what's actually happening on our screens.
Right, right.
Alrighty, so
That's
Aliza,
great.
I moved her down not through any fault of her own this week. So it wasn't like I felt like Aliza had a bad week. I was just
Mm-hmm.
very high on Jack. You kept Aliza in the number 1
Yeah, that's
position.
fair. I did. Like I said, I think it's just muscle memory from last season. Just when my pen goes to paper, I just start drawing
Mm-hmm.
an A. So it's just, I think it's going to take, I don't know, something. It's going to take her having to like make some sort of mistake to move her
Agreed.
down. But I will say, her and Jack's gap definitely was very, very
Mm-hmm.
close. Like I could have easily bumped Jack up to number 1. So I do want to throw that out there. But no, I think, I mean, Eliza's great. I think a lot of people want to work with her. She was brought into that random 4,
Mm-hmm.
which was funny. She was just kind of like spacing out
Mm-hmm.
during Kat talking about whatever she was talking about. But so we've all been
Yep.
there as well. But no, I think she's one of those people, as we say every time, like who wouldn't want to work with her? She could sit down with anyone in this cast and I feel like gain an ally. So I think just that alone, puts her in a good spot. And again, comparing her to Matthew, I think he would unfortunately be someone that I feel like people would want to take out first, just between the two of them. Like if they had to choose between the two of them, it would probably be Matthew that would
Mm-hmm.
go.
Totally agree.
So I think that gets her, points for that. But yeah, I mean, the list could go on about how many good things we could say about Lisa. So
Yeah, I mean, we could record a whole
she's
separate
still number 1 for
podcast
me.
just things we like about Aliza because she is such a great player. I think she's so good. My only concern with Aliza this week, and it's again through no fault of her own, but this kind of Jackson, Dale, Matthew thing, now that Jackson is more a part of it, I think once
Yeah.
3 guys out of the equation, she does become the biggest threat. So it's and again, I have no idea whether that's actually reality or whether it's totally just talk at this point.
Right.
But it did give me a little worry for her. But again, it's Aliza. So that she could wrangle up everybody else in the game and flip the game. I'm not worried about her at all in that sense. I think
No.
I think she's totally integrated. I think of the 4 returners, I think she's made herself the smallest target as far as that returner target.
Yes.
And obviously being on a tribe with Matthew helps.
I agree completely.
Because it's like, when you're looking at those 2 returners, who are you going to be more afraid of? It's not reflective of who's the better player. It's just that Matthew's game is so showy and he's the lion and his season is airing right now. So people are very aware of him. And it's very interesting because we saw so much of like Ben's season 3 game kind of come to light last week, but I don't think we've seen anything thus far about Ben or anybody else being like, yeah, Aliza was so good in season 3. I don't think we've seen any of that. Even from like Matthew and Jay would have been involved on a production side in season 3. We haven't really seen them be like, yeah, Aliza's
Yeah.
so social. She's so good at the inner politics and stuff. We just haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's not even necessarily a bad thing. I mean, obviously being a good social player is can put a target on you, but I feel like this early
Yeah,
probably not so much. And I feel like it's almost like like if you sit down with Aliza once, you're like, oh, like you probably get the same
it's true.
feeling if you're like, oh, well, I really want to work with her. So like probably other people do too. So I don't even think if like Ben
Mm-hmm.
tried to say anything about her game or even Jack or Matt from being on the production side, like I don't even know if it would necessarily change my opinion.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, she is a social player. Like I'm still going to work with her. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be a detriment for people to even say that.
Yeah, that's a
So
great point.
I think if that is being said, or if it's said in the future, I think this early, I don't think it would do any damage to her game.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I just think it's interesting that like even like she's got the big double idol play with Devin with the real idol and the fake idol and stuff that just it seems like none of unless we're not
Yeah.
seeing it, it seems like none of that has come up. Like she's just right back to in the same. If anything, she's more under the radar this season than she was in season 3. Like she's more off
Yeah,
people.
that's
She's
true.
less of a threat this season than she was even when she wasn't a returner. So I continue to be very impressed by Aliza. I bumped her down this week. She didn't even move down this week. It's just that I was so high on Jack's game this week that I wanted to honor that. But Aliza could easily still be the number one. She could be the number one on this list until she gets voted out because, like we said last week,
Right.
2 seasons through, have not really seen her make a mistake yet.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree.
So I'm feeling so good about where this season is at and where it's heading. I don't feel any kind of like, because sometimes you watch it and you feel like, oh, I see where this is heading. Kind of. I'm excited about where it's heading, like I said, but I don't feel any kind of indication of where this is going at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not cut and dry, which I think is a good thing. It makes it more exciting. I think, again, shout out to the editing team. Like, I mean, we kind of felt like it would be Tom, but because he had the idol, it was like, well, he's going to play it. Like, in my mind, I was like, he's playing this 100%. He's going to send someone home. And it didn't happen. So it was just like crazy. But yeah, I think it's a really strong start to the season. And I feel like you said, it's not been super obvious about what would happen or what could happen. So I think that's definitely making it fun. And I can't believe there's already been 2 episodes. Like it almost kind of feels like we're in like week 4 or 5. I think everyone has like, most people have gotten a lot of airtime and we kind of know where a lot of people are at. So
yeah.
Very strong start to the season.
It's super interesting, not just that we've only had 2 episodes, but we've had 2-hour-long episodes. So we really only have a very limited amount of content. It goes to show sometimes in fan-made Survivors, there can be this thing that because you're on YouTube, you can kind of make like 90-minute episodes and 2-hour episodes and as long as we want episodes. And this season is just proving that frankly, sometimes the content we get in an hour on CBS is not that thorough, if we're being quite honest. And this is proving that in an hour, succinctly, you can so much content and strategy and insight. This week, we did see every single player in the game. 15 people we got moments with in the game in an hour. We got a huge twist. We got a great challenge with good moments. We got laughs. We got anything you could want out of an hour of reality television we got this week in 60 minutes. And so it's like, again, not to be like super like glowing about the production side of it, but it's a master class in putting together, I think, an episode television. Somebody hired these guys. Yeah. I know that like CBS executives listen to this podcast religiously. The people from MTV and the Challenge and all those people are listening to this power ranking stuff, hanging on our every word. So hire these guys, give them jobs.
Yes.
Let's let's get more good reality TV on television and on YouTube and everywhere we can get it, on Paramount Plus, on Netflix, on Hulu. There's nothing on Disney Plus.
All the streaming sites.
Let's reboot something for Disney Plus. They've been talking about rebooting The Mole. We could reboot The Mole. We could reboot Endurance. Cool. We could reboot Murder in Small Town X from the early 2000s, if you remember that. Listen, just buy some of my unsold reality TV pitches, and we'll work together. So that's sort of the final pitch of the week, is hire these guys. Anything else on episode 2?
Yes. No, I think we've covered everything. I think again it was an exciting episode. I think everything's kind of being set up well, and what's nice about recording this on a Tuesday night is the episode comes out tomorrow night.
Yes.
So we only have to wait less than a day. So I'm very, very excited to see what happens in episode 3 tomorrow night.
I'm super excited. The only other thing I have in my notes is that Ben taking a note from Brady and recording a bunch of shirtless confessionals this week, I think is a good sign that the Ben game is shifting now. He's moving towards the Brady game, and the Brady game means no shirts ever. So
hey, you got whatever you can pick up from your first season and bring it into your next season is always a bonus.
Alrighty, well, in that case, this has been our time. For Paul and Joe, the Power Rankings guys, thanks for sticking with us. See you next week.
Perfect. Bye, everybody.